A child born from dark secrets, a mother haunted by shadows. Welcome to the Surrogacy Horror Part 2, where nothing is what it seems. Suddenly, the woman's veil lifted, and Ololade gasped. It was Arike, the surrogate. But why was she helping them? Arike, what's going on? Ololade asked, her voice barely above a whisper. How are you connected to this cabin and the map? This cabin has been in my family for generations. It's a safe haven for those who need it. And a map? Well, let's just say it's a way to find your way back to what's important. Ololade's mind was racing. She didn't understand what Arike was trying to say. Arike cut in. I was hunted too, because we broke tradition. But one of the elders wants the baby alive. A day before I gave birth, I was visited and told to take the baby to a river close to the village and drop him there. Ololade and Ayodele looked shocked and surprised. So what changed? You still gave us the baby anyway. I couldn't do it. I have a more shocking confession. I'm not just a surrogate. I am... Just as they were starting to process this new information, a loud noise echoed outside the cabin. The king's men had found them. We have to go, Arike said, her voice urgent. Now. Ololade's heart racing, she scooped up her baby and followed Arike and Ayodele out of the cabin. They ran through the forest, the sound of horses' hooves getting closer and closer, and suddenly, a twist. As they emerged from the trees, Ololade saw a figure waiting for them, a figure she recognized. It was Fumi, the woman who had first told her about surrogacy. Welcome, Ololade. I've been waiting for you. You're just in time for the next part of your journey. Ololade's instinct screamed, Be careful! What did Fumi want? Was she friend or foe? Ololade's grip on her baby tightened as she eyed Fumi warily. What do you mean? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. You've been through a lot, Ololade, but you're not out of the woods yet. The king's men are closing in, and you need my help to get out of this situation alive. Ololade's instinct screamed at her to trust no one, but she had no choice. She had to rely on someone, and Fumi seemed to be the only one who could help her. What do you want in return? Ololade asked. I want you to come with me. We'll take care of the king's men, and I'll make sure you and your child are safe, but you have to trust me. Ololade, don't trust her. We can't be sure of her motives, Arike warned. But Ololade was torn. She had a feeling that Fumi was telling the truth. She needed help, and Fumi seemed to be the only one who could provide it. Okay, Ololade said finally. I'll trust you. But if you're playing me, you'll regret it. Fumi's smile grew wider. I wouldn't have it any other way. As they followed Fumi out of the cabin, Ololade felt a sense of uncertainty. Was she making a mistake? Or was she taking the first step towards a new life? The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Ololade would do whatever it took to protect her child and build a new life. As they walked, Fumi led them through a winding path, avoiding the main roads. Ololade's senses were on high alert, her eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. Ayodele held her hand, her grip tight with tension. After what felt like hours of walking, they reached a small village on the outskirts of the forest. Fumi led them to a small, empty cottage where they all decided to lay and rest because it was late and they were all tired. The next morning, Ololade woke up feeling refreshed. She looked around the cottage, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. Suddenly, she heard a voice from behind her. "Good morning, my child." Ololade froze. "Who are you?" she asked with fear and a loud voice. The others heard her voice and hurriedly came to see the situation. "My name is Ninoma," she said calmly and smiling. "Don't be afraid. I saw you all walk to this place last night. My hut is just over there," the woman said, pointing to the direction of her hut. "It seems you are in danger. I just came to offer food," she said, turning to look at Ololade. "I see you have a baby," she said, stretching her hand to touch the baby. Arike said, "Stop! Why are you helping?" The woman didn't respond but continued, "He is beautiful." Then she looked at Ololade and whispered, "Trust no one." Ololade felt a sense of unease growing inside her. Ayodele stepped forward. Just as he was about to speak, they heard the sound of horses. This time, it was very close. Fumi said urgently, "We have to leave, now!" Ololade's heart sunk. She knew they had to act fast. Nelma quickly led them out of the cottage, while Fumi stood guard, her eyes scanning the surroundings. "You need to get out of here, now!" Nelma said, her voice urgent. They ran through the village, the sound of the king's men getting closer and closer. Ololade's baby was crying, and she tried to comfort him as she ran. Suddenly, Fumi stopped and turned to face them. Fumi pointed to a small path that led into the forest. They followed Fumi, their hearts pounding in their chests. The path was narrow and winding, and Ololade stumbled several times. But Fumi kept pushing forward, her determination driving them on. As they ran, Ololade heard the sound of the king's men behind them. They were getting closer, and she knew they couldn't keep running forever. Just when she thought they were going to be caught, Fumi stopped at a small cave hidden behind a waterfall. Fumi said, "In here." She pushed them inside. They collapsed on the ground, panting and exhausted. Ololade's baby was still crying, and she tried to comfort him. As they caught their breath, Ololade looked at Fumi. "What now?" Fumi's eyes gleamed in the dim light of the cave. Fumi said, "Now we wait. We'll stay here until it's safe to leave." But Ololade wasn't sure she trusted Fumi. As they waited in silence, Ololade heard a faint noise outside the cave. It sounded like footsteps, light and cautious. Fumi's eyes locked onto hers, and she mouthed, "We're not alone." As the footsteps grew louder, Ololade's heart began to pound in her chest. She looked at Ayodele, and he nodded, his eyes fixed on Fumi and Arike. Fumi motioned for them to stay quiet and still, her eyes locked on the entrance of the cave. The footsteps stopped just outside. Ololade held her breath, frozen. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the entrance of the cave. It was a woman, dressed in a long cloak, her face hidden behind a veil. She looked around cautiously, her eyes scanning the cave like a hawk. Fumi's eyes locked onto the woman. Ololade saw it, a flicker of recognition. But Fumi said nothing. She just watched as the woman stepped closer. The woman's eyes landed on Ololade and the baby. She nodded slightly. "You're safe here. My name is Damilola. I'm here to help you." Ololade's eyes narrowed. Who was this woman? How did she know they were here? She looked at Ayodele, but Fumi's expression was unreadable. Damilola moved closer, her eyes fixed on the baby. "He's beautiful, but you need to be careful. The king's men are getting desperate." Ayodele spoke up, his voice low. "What do you know about the king's men?" Damilola's eyes flickered to Ayodele. "I know they're not just looking for you. They're looking for something more. Something that could change the course of history." Ololade's eyes widened. What did she mean? What could be more important than capturing her and her child? As Damilolo spoke, unease twisted inside Ololade like a knot tightening. She didn't know what was happening, but she knew one thing. She had to be careful. Arike leaned toward Fumi and whispered, "You don't look surprised or scared. It seems like you recognize this woman." Fumi pretended not to hear. Suddenly, Damilola's eyes locked on Fumi. "You're playing a dangerous game, Fumi. You need to be careful who you trust." Fumi's expression didn't change, but Ololade saw it. That flicker, that tiny flicker of tension in her eyes. What was going on between these two women? The air in the cave grew thick with tension. Ololade didn't know what would happen next, but she knew one thing. She had to protect her child, no matter what. As the silence hung in the air, Ololade's thoughts swirled. What secrets were these women hiding? What lay ahead for her in her child? She looked at Arike and remembered. She was trying to tell her something. Inside the cabin, "The last words," she said before they left in a hurry. "I am not just a surrogate. Who exactly is Arike?" The questions ring in her heart. The cave fell into a heavy silence. Arike's voice broke it like a knife. "I am not just a surrogate." Her eyes lock on Ololade. A beat passes. Then, "I am the king's daughter." Ololade staggered back, her breath caught in her throat. What did you say?" Arike stepped forward slowly. "My name is Princess Arike Adiran. I ran away from the palace years ago. I couldn't bear the darkness, the things my father did to keep his throne." Ayodele's fists clenched. "Then why agree to be our surrogate?" Arike looked at the baby, her voice shaking. "Because this child is more than your son. He carries a bloodline the king fears. The elder who warned me? He told me a prophecy, that a child born a forbidden union with royal blood and a pure woman's heart would end the king's reign." Fumi scoffed. "You're playing with fire, Arike." But Ololade was trembling now. "Wait, you're saying my son?" Arike nodded, tears in her eyes. "The prophecy is about him. Your child is destined to bring justice to this land." Fumi turned sharply. "You fool, you shouldn't have said that." All eyes snapped to her. Arike's voice sharpened. "Why are you really here, Fumi?" Her face changed. No more warm smiles. Her eyes were cold now, calculating. She slowly clapped her hands. "Because I was sent to deliver the child to the king." Ololade gasped. Ayodele stepped in front of her protectively. "I told you to trust no one," Arike said. Fumi took a slow step forward. "I didn't lie about surrogacy. I did help you, but not for you, for him, the king." Arike growled. "You're one of them." Suddenly, Damilolo raised her voice, firm and thunderous. "Enough!" A beat. Everyone turns to her. Her energy changes, something divine and fearsome. Her presence shifted. She removed the veil from her face fully. Her eyes glowed with something ancient, something beyond this world. Damilolo stepped forward, her veil fully off now. "You're just pieces on a board far bigger than you know," she said coldly. Ololade clutched her baby tighter, heart pounding. Ayodele stepped in. "Then tell us who you are and why you've really come."
Damilola exhaled deeply. My name is not just Damilola. I am part of an ancient sisterhood, sworn to protect children born under the blood moon. Arike's eyes widened. The prophecy? Damilola nodded. Your child was born during the blood moon eclipse. That only happens once every 5 generations. And every time, a child is born who will expose the evil that has ruled this land for too long. Fumi scoffed. Another legend. Do you people really believe this nonsense? You believed it enough to betray your friend, Damilola shot back. You delivered her into danger for power. The king promised you something, didn't he?
Fumi's jaw tightened, her silence confirming everything. Ololade stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. So what does this mean for my child? What danger is he in? Damilola looked at the baby with heavy eyes. They will not stop until he is dead. The air turned ice cold. Unless, she continued, you choose to do the unthinkable to protect him. Arike asked cautiously, What do you mean? Damilola leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. You must vanish completely, even from each other. Ololade shook her head. No, I can't let go of my husband. You don't have a choice, Damilola said. The king has placed a bounty on this child, and there are more spies among you than you know. Damilola's voice echoed in the stone cave, sharp as a blade. There are more eyes watching you than you think, and one of you still serves the king. Ololade clutched the baby tighter, her eyes flicking in panic between Fumi and Arike. Arike stepped forward, trembling. But you said the baby is a prophecy. But what does that really mean? Damilola's eyes darkened. He will grow to tear down the throne, not with war, but with truth. The blood moon marks the child of revelation, and the king fears truth more than death. Fumi suddenly snapped. This is madness. You're all bewitched. I never meant for anyone to die. Ayodele turned to her slowly. Then why did you lead us into danger, Fumi? Tears streamed down her face. I thought they would spare the child if I brought Ololade to them. Ololade let out a shaky breath, stepping back from her. You were my sister. The baby begins to cry, loud, shrill, as if sensing the darkness. Damilola raised her hand. Quiet! Do you hear that? Everyone froze. A faint sound. Footsteps. Coming from the narrow path that led into the cave. Ayodele grabbed a rock. Arike held out her hand protectively in front of Ololade and the baby. Damilola's eyes sharpened. They found us. Who? Ayodele asked. Damilola whispered. The king's sacred hunters. We have no time. If you want this child to live, you must run, now, and split up, completely. No, Ololade cried. I'm not leaving Ayodele. You must, Damilola barked. They will expect you together. Ayodele stepped to Ololade, pulling her into a tight embrace. Whatever happens, I'll find you again. I swear it. Then, Damilola handed Ololade a silver necklace. When it glows, the child is no longer safe. And just as the shadows of the cave entrance shifted, they split into darkness. Inside the cave, silence pressed against their chests like a heavy stone. The baby let out a soft cry, as if sensing the danger. Ololade tightened her grip, rocking gently, whispering broken prayers. Ayodele stood behind her, eyes flicking between Arike, Fumi, and Damilola. Who among them could still be lying? Damilola's voice was soft but firm. You must separate now. If they catch all of you together, it's over. Ololade's whisper cracked, fragile. No, Please don't make me do this. Damilola stepped closer, placing a calming hand on her shoulder. It's the only way. The wind howled, the torchlight flickered violently, the cave itself seemed to warn them. Her voice became quick, decisive. Ayodele will head north through the mountain trail. Ololade and the child will go west with me through the riverbed path. Arike, you go east into the valley. And Fulmi? A pause. All eyes turned to Fulmi. Cold and final, Damilola said, "You'll stay behind and pray the king's men don't find you first." Fulmi's mouth opened, then shut. No one spoke for her. She had no more allies. Ololade trembled. Her voice was soft, barely holding together. How will we find each other again? Damilola met her eyes, her tone deep, steady, and mysterious. If the child survives the 7th moon, he will find you all. That's how the prophecy works. He will bring the scattered back together. A low growl rumbled from the mouth of the cave, deep and menacing. Hooves, steel, footsteps. Damilola's voice snapped sharp and urgent. "Run!" Ayodele kissed his wife once, urgent, painful, then vanished into the shadows with only a blade and a heartbeat. Arike darted in the opposite direction, her emerald gown catching a last glint of light before the darkness swallowed her. Damilola grabbed Ololode's wrist and pulled her swiftly down a narrow path. Water rushed beneath their feet. Behind them, chaos erupted. The king's sacred hunters crashed into the cave with bloodlust. They shouted, they cursed, they smelled blood. And Fulmi stood in the dark, frozen, alone. Then a voice whispered, venomous, otherworldly, "So, this is the price of betrayal." The forest was merciless. Ololode's legs buckled, her arms ached from holding the child. Damilola moved ahead with fierce urgency, slicing through vines, whispering old chants that made the air shiver. "We're almost there," she said breathlessly. But the quiet behind them was wrong. Too quiet. Ololode's voice trembled with fear. "Damilola, why did you help us? You never said who you really are." Damilola stopped. Her expression darkened, heavy with regret. "Because I made a mistake once. A long time ago, I helped the king curse his own wife." Ololade gasped. "You?" Her voice was low, carrying years of buried guilt. She was barren too, but unlike you, she refused to take another path. She died alone.
He blamed me for not giving him a solution. I've lived hiding ever since, until I saw you and the blood moon. She turned fully to Ololade, her voice trembling with destiny. That baby, he's the one I was warned about. The child who will return what was stolen. The king knows this. That's why he must kill him before the 7th moon. Suddenly, the forest exploded with light. The king's men. Damilola growled, "Take him and run. Don't stop, don't look back." And then she charged straight into the shadows, shouting ancient incantations, flames bursting from her hands as she vanished into the battle. Far away, Ayodele stumbled through the mountain trail. His palms were bleeding. The mountain echoed with every labored breath. Then he saw it, a shrine covered in moss and bone. He stepped closer. A voice echoed, low and ancient. "You carry the blood of the betrayer." He froze. From the shadows, a woman in white appeared. Her eyes were pale gold. Her feet hovered just above the ground. Her voice was mysterious, smooth like smoke. "Your wife's friend Funmi was promised wealth. She gave the king more than your location. She gave him the boy's name. Ayodele's breath caught. The boy's name. Her tone deepened, slow and ominous. He carries the name of the first son the king murdered. The prophecy says he will rise again through a womb not his mother's. Ayodele collapsed to his knees, shaking. "How do I stop this?" he whispered, desperate. Her voice was heavy and final. "You don't. You survive long enough to witness it." And she vanished. Arike ran until her feet bled. The valley was cold, empty, but not still. A voice rose in the wind, calling her name. She gasped. She turned. It was her father, the king, dismounted, crownless, alone. "You disobeyed me, daughter. You tried to kill an innocent child," she shouted, backing away. "He is not innocent. He is vengeance wrapped in flesh." He stepped forward. "I loved your mother. That child's existence mocks her death. You caused her death." His face changed. Guilt surfaced, then buried itself in rage. Suddenly, a green light split the sky. A cry echoed across the valley, the baby's cry.
The king turned sharply and ran. At the mouth of a dying river, Ololade fell to her knees. Her clothes were torn, her legs bruised. The baby was still in her arms, his skin glowing faintly under the moonlight. Then Ayodele emerged, limping, bleeding, alive. They embraced, no words, just breath and relief. "Where's Damilola?" His voice barely held. Ololade shook her head slowly, eyes wet with tears. "She bought us time." A moment passed. Then from the trees, Arike appeared, soaked, scraped, silent. She said nothing. She looked at the baby and wept. The moon reached its peak. The wind shifted. Thunder rolled far off. Then, hoofbeats. The king arrived, alone. No guards, no sword. He walked slowly. "Give me the child." Ololade stood. "You will not touch him." Ayodele stepped forward. "This is your last chance. Leave." The king ignored them. He knelt. He looked into the baby's eyes and gasped. "Abeni?" His hands trembled. The baby's eyes golden like the queen's. "She named him after me," he whispered. Then an arrow ripped the silence. It struck the king square in the chest. Gasps. From the shadows, Funmi stepped out, face blank, bow in hand. Funmi stood there, shaking. Her bow slipped from her trembling fingers. "He promised me the crown." Her voice cracked. "He said I'd be queen if I delivered the child." Her eyes shimmered, but it was too late. The king was gone, and the lies had burned to ash. "He used me." She looked down. "He used all of us." She turned slowly toward the forest. Her steps were quiet. No one followed. Some say she vanished into the cursed caves, seeking redemption. Others say she was never seen again. News of the king's death spread like wildfire. The villagers, once blind with fear and tradition, awoke to a new dawn. For the first time in decades, the palace gates were shut. The throne was empty. The elders panicked. The priests denied the prophecy, but the people, they whispered. The child survived. One by one, the same people who mocked Ololade, who spat at her feet,
who called her barren, began to tremble. They remembered how she had walked with grace, how she never cursed them back. Shame crept into their bones. They searched for her, to beg, to kneel, to make it right. But Ololade was gone, vanished like mist. 7 moons later, in a quiet village far from the past, the moonlight kissed the earth. A little boy, no longer a baby, ran barefoot near a riverbank. His golden eyes shimmered like the moon above. He laughed, chasing fireflies, his joy echoing through the trees. Nearby, Ololade, her caramel skin glowing in the firelight, stirred a pot of herbs and soup. Her eyes, peaceful, calm, healed. Ayodele, now leaner but still strong, carved a wooden stool beneath the tree. A quiet smile tugged at his lips. Arike, dressed in a flowing green wrapper, embroidered in gold, sat on a woven mat. She watched the child with a quiet joy only a mother could know. And just beyond the trees, Damilola stood beneath a spirit tree. Her body was gone, but her essence lingered, warm, fierce, protective. The air shimmered faintly around her. She was the last guardian. The prophecy had not only ended an evil reign, it had returned balance. What was stolen had been reclaimed. The boy with golden eyes would grow to be more than a prince. He would become a legend, and the name Ololade would be sung by griots, carved into drums, whispered by mothers into the ears of their newborns.
If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe for more chilling tales. Don't forget to like, share, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new episode.